They found her curled around her mother's burned body. The forest still, smoldered smoke hanging in the air like a ghost unwilling to leave. The earth was blackened, the trees stripped bare like skeletal remains. And in the middle of it all, barely breathing, was a baby bobcat. Her singed fur came off in patches. One paw had melted into the ash-hardened soil, fused to the earth by fire. Her face was streaked with soot and blood. She didn't cry. She didn't move. Her eyes just stared wide, unblinking, like her mind hadn't yet caught up with the horror around her. The volunteers had arrived to assess the damage. They weren't prepared for this. One of them, a young man named Carter, dropped to his knees at the sight of her. She was small, far too small to be alone. But there was no one else. Not her mother, not her siblings. Only her silence remained. They wrapped her in a thermal blanket and poured cool water over her paws. But the damage had already taken hold. Her breath rattled. Her heartbeat was faint. Every moment she clung to life defied logic. They rushed her to a small wildlife center on the outskirts of Bozeman, Montana. There was no specialized burn unit, no advanced equipment, just volunteers, donated supplies, and hope in a cramped shed. They laid her in a heated crate, hooked up an IV, and stared. She still hadn't made a sound. They named her Willow. The vet's voice was grim. The burns were severe. Her hydration was critical. She hadn't eaten in days. But it wasn't just her body that was shattered. Her spirit was gone. She flinched at touch. She refused to close her eyes. No one was sure she'd make it through the night just 5 days earlier. A soggy cardboard box had appeared outside the center's gates. Early morning, bitter cold. One of the volunteers nearly missed it. But then the box moved. Inside was a Pitbull. Puppy barely 3 months old. His mostly white coat, dotted with charcoal patches around the ears, was crusted with frost. His paws were swollen and raw. His gums were pale. His breath so faint they weren't sure he was alive. Someone had left him to freeze to death. They screamed for help and carried him inside with trembling hands. No blanket, no tag, no food, just a frozen baby, discarded like trash. They placed him under heating pads and started an IV. Time was everything. A volunteer named Maddie cupped his face, whispering through tears, "Stay, please, just stay." Convulsed a shallow breath, then another. He was fighting. Hours passed. Then he opened his eyes. Dull, cloudy, lifeless but alive. He didn't bark. He didn't whimper. He just lay still, too weak to care. They named him Ash. The center didn't specialize in dogs, but turning him away wasn't an option. He would stay until a nearby dog rescue could take him in. Volunteers worked in shifts to warm him, feed him, hydrate him. He never made a sound, not once. Just silent eyes that tracked them all, unsure if kindness was safe. Then came the whispers. "Is that a pit bull? Why are you keeping that breed?" But Ash never growled. He wasn't dangerous. He was damaged. He had learned the world would hurt him before it ever held him. By the 3rd day, he stood. Wobbly, unsure, but upright. He still didn't trust hands. But he didn't resist them either, still silent to broken animals. No one expected what would happen when they met. The center was overcrowded. Winter had been merciless. Injured owls. Burned raccoons. A porcupine hit by a car. Space was gone. Supplies running out. Energy even lower. Willow needed isolation, but the burn unit was already taken by a bald eagle with a shattered wing. Ash was too fragile to go outside, and his kennel was needed for another intake. They needed space. They didn't have it. That's when Grace, a senior volunteer with silver in her hair and decades of service in her bones, suggested the unthinkable. Put them in side-by-side enclosures. The backlash was immediate. A pit bull next to a wild bobcat? Are you insane? What happens when one attacks? But Grace stood firm. They've both lost everything. Maybe they just don't want to be alone. No contact, just proximity, reinforced. Pens, a thick barrier. Nothing more, at first silence. Willow curled in her corner, wounded paw tucked beneath her. Ash stood stiffly, like he was being punished. Then slowly Willow turned her head. She looked through the wire at the strange animal beside her. He didn't look like her, didn't act like her, but he wasn't loud. He didn't bark. He didn't move. He just looked back and watched. That night, the building emptied. The camera blinked red. Somewhere between dusk and midnight, Ash crawled forward, belly low, tail still. He lay down at the barrier. Willow saw him, then she shifted. Her burned body dragged inch by inch until her spine pressed to the mesh. Just inches from his, and for the first time Willow slept through the night. It broke every rule. Wild animals should not bond with domesticated ones. Attachment would ruin her chances of release, but no one could unsee what they saw. The footage went viral in the center. Volunteers watched in silence. Grace just whispered, "Maybe this is what healing looks like." Willow's health began to improve. Her temperature stabilized. She ate more. Ash started wagging his tail, not much, just enough to say, "I see you." And then one morning, Ash carried his favorite Toya, frayed red fabric. Bonan placed it gently by the mesh. Willow blinked, didn't retreat. She watched him. That night, she dragged herself closer. A low, rumbling purr echoed in the room. "She's purring," a volunteer whispered. Days passed. Willow started accepting bandage changes. Only if Ash was there. Brought the toy again. This time, Willow laid a paw beside it. Then it happened. Ash leaned forward. Through the tiniest hole in the fence, he gently licked her bandaged paw. She didn't flinch. A volunteer joked, "Is this love?" No one laughed, because it didn't feel like a joke. It felt sacred. The warning came in a stamped envelope. New. Compliance officer had reviewed Willow's file. Immediate. Separation, continued exposure to a domestic animal would render her unfit for release. If the center refused, Willow would be taken away. The staff stood frozen. Someone whispered, "She's alive because of him." That night, Ash was moved across the building. He didn't fight. But when the door closed behind him, he let out a long, aching whine. Willow heard it. She paced for hours, dragging her paw. Her food went untouched. Her burns reopened. Ash refused to eat. He clawed at the door until his paws bled. The silence that followed was not Pysit, was defeat. Then, at 2:14 a.m., a night shift volunteer walked down the hallway with Ash in his arms and broke protocol. He placed Ash just outside Willow's enclosure. No touch, just closeness. Willow crawled to the wire and pressed her forehead to it. Ash lay beside her. Her breathing slowed. She fell asleep. By morning, her vitals had stabilized. Someone filmed the moment. It was posted online, captioned, "Sometimes protocol forgets what healing looks like." The story spread. Donations poured in. The philanthropist offered help. Construction began on a new sanctuary behind the Center Natural. Open, quiet. Willow and Ash moved together, still separated at first. But soon, under supervision, they shared space. They never strayed far. Ash matured. Willow healed. They moved like shadows, silent. Together, they became the soul of the center's outreach. Children came to see them. Teachers cried. Parents asked how to help. Not a viral moment. A living message. Kindness transcends instinct. Love has no species. Spring arrived. The snow melted. Ash stood taller, his frame stronger, his gentleness intact. Willow's golden coat shimmered. She watched, listened, trusted. Together, they walked the land. Because of them, more animals were being saved. More people were giving, more lives were healing. They weren't meant to be symbols. They were just two broken souls who found each other, and in doing so, rebuilt everything around them. Every story here on Pawthos reminds us of the incredible power of compassion and how crucial it is to support animals in need. When you watch and share these stories, you help more rescued animals find the love, care, and homes they deserve. This journey from survival to sanctuary shows just how important nonprofit rescue groups truly are. Caring for rescued animals is more than love. It's responsibility. It's animal welfare. It's conservation. Subscribe to Pawthos, where rescue meets the wild and love always finds a way.